was a dark and mournful night. There's a mist shrouding the stones tonight. It's a cold, damp mist. Touches the cheek gently, like the fingers of a man long dead. All the beasts of the forest are mine, and all the cattle on 1,000 hills. When the harvest comes, people will stand by in silence, and the children will go hungry, so there will be no grain. Who's there? Who is it? Who's there? Keep away from me! It's not me! Keep away, I say! I'm not the one! We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the rulers of darkness.
Do you believe in witchcraft? Witches have plagued the human race since history first began. Although nowadays, in America at least, they become nothing more than an illusion with which to tease the childish imagination at Halloween. But not so in the old world. In Italy, for example, witchcraft is still called the old religion. And in England, even today, the legal definition of a witch stands on the statute books: the person who hath conference with the devil. And in a place like Dark Woods, for example, deep in the mountains of the Welsh borders, where the village cowers in the shadows of the Druid stones, an ancient sacrificial circle put there, who knows when? For these simple villagers, time has not moved very fast. The old habits and fears die hard. Our story tonight deals with their attempts to exorcise a witch. Our leading players are Mr. Kenneth Hay, Miss Audrey Dalton, Mr. Alan Caillou, Mr. Alan Napier, and Miss Doris Lloyd. Join us now, won't you, as we try to beat the devil at his own game.
Stones. They say the spirits of the slaves who brought them here still watch over them.
Frightening, Harry.
Frightening? You're not supposed to be frightened on your honeymoon.
Some honeymoon.
You wait till you see them by daylight, Mrs. Roberts.
By daylight, you'll be investigating a gruesome murder, and I'll be left alone in a gruesome inn.
Alone? Why do you think I brought you here?
I was beginning to wonder. Now, Mr. Roberts, behave yourself.
That's a ridiculous suggestion.
There's a time and a place for everything.
Well, this is the time.
But, well, this is definitely not the place.
I don't see why not.
Oh, Harry, really?
All right. Come on, let's go to the car and we'll get over to your gruesome inn. But I'll bring you back in the morning and show you where the Druids used to burn their victims. Ritual sacrifices on St. Valentine's Day to propitiate the harvest gods.
Darling, you say the nicest things.
How good it is to be appreciated. I really do love you, you know. Even if you were dumb enough to marry a policeman.
What are you doing here? Who are you?
Well, I might ask the same thing of you. I'm a police officer.
There's only one policeman in Dark Woods. That's me myself.
Oh, then you must be Constable Evans.
How do you know my name? You're a stranger in these parts. You come from the city.
I'm Detective Inspector Roberts of Scotland Yard, and I think you can put that thing away.
You have your identification, of course.
Yes? Is it all right to put my hand in my pocket? I mean, you're not going to throw that thing at me or anything. There it is.
Ah.
You had me worried there for a minute. I mean, police constables don't usually arm themselves with hay forks. And in view of the recent troubles you've had in these parts.
It's the only weapon we know how to use, Mr. Roberts. Man must defend himself as best he can. There's evil spirits about. Evil spirits and evil people.
Yes, well, I don't think it was a spirit that killed the old hedge cutter. Oh, this is Constable Evans, my wife.
Sad place for a lady to come to, Mrs. Roberts. Especially a young and pretty lady like yourself. But I expect you'll be wanting to see the Chief Constable. He lives down over there. I'll take you to him.
My car's at the bottom of the hill. Is it far?
Eh? Just beyond the village. There, Mr. Roberts. That's where the body was lying when we found it. Somebody pushed a hay fork, just like this one, through his chest. And they carved a cross on his throat with the point of his own billock. It's the ritual killing, Mrs. Roberts. Did you know that? The ritual killing of a witch.
Yes, yes, I know all about that. Now, let's get over to the car, shall we?
3 days ago, Mr. Roberts. February the 14th. St. Valentine's Day.
Wouldn't it be better if we discussed all this in the morning?
And that morning, 3 young heifers died for no reason. And they do say that the grass will wither when the summer comes, and there'll be no fodder unless... Where'd you say the car was, Mr. Roberts?
Down there. Unless what, Evans?
Unless all the witches is killed. They say there's plenty of them hereabouts.
Darling, this is a policeman?
Oh, maybe we'll get more sense out of the Chief Constable.
Lovely country you have up here, Mr. Evans.
It's better than the city.
Beautiful trees. They grow well up here.
They have nothing else to do.
Darling, you hit it.
Hit it? Hit what? I didn't hit anything.
Didn't you see it? The dog.
What dog? Oh, well, there's no great harm done. Is everyone all right?
I could have sworn there was a dog there. A black dog. Oh, it was standing there right in the middle of the road. I was certain we'd hit it.
Did you see anything, Evans?
No, I myself saw nothing. I would see nothing. It went there.
Well, then you see. Now, how do we get this car back on the road again?
Sir Wilfred's house is close by through the trees there. In the morning, I'll tell George at the garage to pull your car out with this truck. This way.
An accident, you said. Nothing serious, I hope.
No, we just ran into the ditch. My wife thought she saw a dog in the middle of the road.
I'm sure I did. A black dog.
Black dog? There are no black dogs in the village, Mrs. Roberts.
Oh, surely that's a very broad statement, isn't it?
For a very good reason. The villagers up here think that a black dog is an omen of death. Ever since... Oh, you must have been mistaken.
Ever since what, Sir Wilfrid?
Well, 40 years ago, one of the villagers saw, or thought he saw, a black dog that changed in front of his eyes into a headless woman. Ever since then, he'd been what they call up here bewitched. He lived alone. He talked with the trees and the birds, a lonely old man, very old. He still plied his trade, but none of the others would speak to him. He was a hedge cutter.
Hedge cutter, you mean?
Thomas Watson, the man who was murdered. A ritual murder, Mr. Roberts. A stake through the heart and a cross carved on the throat.
In other words, someone in the village thought him a warlock, a witch.
The whole village thought him that. Every one of them.
Including Evans?
Oh. You thought him strange, eh? Well, wait till you meet some of the others. No, at the time of the murder, Evans was here in his house with me. Don't let his strangeness mislead you. He's just one of the villagers. You're very good health, Mrs. Roberts.
How could you be so sure of the time of the crime? If the night was cold, the doctor could easily be misled.
No, I don't think so. He's a very good man. But apart from that, Watson was well known for his regular habits. You could almost time your watch by him. He was uncannily punctual to and from his work, had been for 50 years.
I see.
But surely all this can wait till the morning. On your first night here, you'll stay with me, of course.
You're very kind, Sir Wilfrid, but I feel I ought to stay at the inn. I think I shall be as close as possible to the villagers. I'm sure you understand.
Oh. Oh, yes, I suppose that makes sense, but... Well, I hope I'll see a lot of you. It's not often we have the pleasure of such delightful company.
Excuse me, sir, but have you seen the laundry hamper?
Good heavens above, and what would I be doing with a laundry hamper?
Well, that is indeed a funny thing. I was taking the sheets off the bed, and I carried them over to the closet where it's always been kept. And there it was. Gone.
Oh, stuff and nonsense. It must be there somewhere. Go and look for it.
Yes, sir.
A laundry hamper? You mean a wicker basket?
Yes, one of those big woven hampers they made here many years ago.
The ones they've made here for 1,000 years or more. Like the ones the Druids used to burn their victims in.
How did you know the Druids used wicker hampers for their sacrifices?
Harry, you've got to find it before it's too late.
Well, now, wait a minute. I came here to investigate a murder, not to hunt for laundry.
They're going to burn her. They're going to exorcise a witch. I know it. I can feel the flames. I can feel them, Harry.
Darling, this is the 20th century. The Druids have been dead and gone for 1,000 years.
Yes. Yes, of course. I just seem to see it so clearly. I'm afraid you've married a very impressionable young woman.
I wouldn't have you any other way. Now, I think we'd better get along to the inn. Sir Wilfrid?
Yes, of course. I'll drive you over in my car. It's not very far.
Thank you.
And, I'm sure you won't mind a suggestion, Mr. Roberts.
Oh, no, of course not.
It might be advisable in the village not to mention the black dog.
All right, but I don't really see why not.
They're strange people here. They live in a world all their own. It's not much like the world that you and I know. Nobody saw that dog, except Mrs. Roberts.
Oh, really?
Last night, Mr. Roberts, I was visiting one of my tenants, a woman with an 8-year-old child. She was putting the child to bed, and I heard her say her prayers, a prayer right out of the 10th century, from ghouls, ghosts, and long-legged beasts, and other things that come in the night.
Good Lord, deliver us.
The hidden forces here, Mr. Roberts, are powerful forces because the people believe in them.
Very interesting.
I think Mrs. Roberts understands what I'm driving at. Nobody else saw that dog, except your wife. And she's young, beautiful, and bewitching.
Come now.
Harry, look.
The druid stones.
Come on. Now, you better stay here.
Darling, I must go with you. I must.
All right, then come on, let's go.
There's nothing more to be seen up there. Get on with your drinking.
There'll be others before our troubles are ended. 3 heifers died this morning. Did you know that? And there'll be more yet.
Hey, say they died of the foot and mouth.
Do you believe that, Mr. Jonas?
No, no more than you do.
They had this trouble 70 years ago when I was just a slip of a boy. They burned 4 of them. Witches and warlocks they were. And my old father, rest his soul, he hanged for it. The police fellas came from Quaintley town, and they took my father away and they hanged him. And the last words he said, afore the trap swung open, "The grass will not grow on my grave, for what I done was just and right." And then, as I watched, me, a boy of 9 years, he dropped. I heard his neck break. But they be still here among us, and the cattle will die, and the grass will wither until they be found and done away with.
If you talk like that in front of that inspector fella, you be in trouble.
Yeah, a city man. A man who knows nothing.
Maybe. That wife of his. I seed her driving that car. Passed close by me, they did. As close as I am to you. She's dark and pretty. She has a light in her eyes.
You seen it too. The fire that burns deep down inside her. You seen it too, eh?
I seed it. Thought she was a gypsy.
That's all she is. There's no harm done.
Oh? And what's that supposed to mean, Mr. Evans?
She's dark and pretty like you say, but that's smouldering down inside her. You never know when the flame will burn through, and then where are you? I ask you, where will you be then?
What you've been saying is just what we've been thinking, Mr. Evans.
I haven't said it. I said nothing. But there's one thing I do know, and it's something I don't like.
Oh? What's that?
She's seen the black dog. Perhaps I shouldn't have told you that. But I'm afeard more trouble's coming to Dark Woods.
She saw it. You sure?
I'm sure, all right.
And tonight, up there on the stones, another one is burned to death, and the fear of it is on us all.
It's the fear that keeps us all alive, Mr. Jonas. If we had the courage to face these evils, who knows what would become of us.
And so we hide like children, afraid of the darkness as the night.
You're a fool, Mr. Jonas. A fool.
Where are you going?
To me home, to my bed. Where else on such a night?
The moon has gone from Darkwood. Be careful how you walk.
In the darkness, Mr. Jonas, there's fear and there's comfort. The fear is for the fools.
Are we fools because we're afraid? Because we know that no one can help us? We bring the police down from London. What good will that do? I ask you, what good?
And he'll have questions to ask, that city man.
And no one will answer him. No one. I do not know who killed Watson or that other one up there. and I don't want to know.
And for this, my father hanged, and me no more than 9 years old.
So this is where the police force is. How long have you been a policeman, Evans?
Nearly 20 years, Mr. Roberts.
Isn't that long enough to teach you to reach the scene of a crime as fast as you can?
But I've lived in dark woods nearly 50, and that's long enough to teach me that there's nothing I can do up on the stones.
Who was it, Sir Wilfrid?
Agnes Wilson.
Aye, she be one of them.
One of what?
One of them witches.
Look, this is the 20th century. Witches don't exist anymore. We're looking for the flesh and blood murderer of an old woman who never did anyone any harm.
Oh, how do you know that, Mr. Roberts?
I don't know it.
Then what are you trying to do up here with your city ways, upsetting folks? You'll find no murderer here, Mr. Roberts. All you'll find...
Someone who burns witches, a right and proper thing to do. My old father did it, and me only a boy. 9 years old I was. And they buried him in the graveyard at the end of the valley there. If you want, you can easily find his grave. It'd be the only one where the grass don't grow.
Aye, that's true. You cannot fight the powers that fight the powers of darkness, because the people will not help you. You'll find that, Mr. Roberts.
No? Well, we'll see about that later. Now, let's have a drink, Sir Wilfrid.
No, let me do this. Mrs. Roberts.
Half a mild and bitter, please.
Bitter, please, and I think Evans had better join us.
Good. Well, that's 2 pints of bitter, a half, and a half, and I'll have the usual. Evans.
Now, let's get one thing clear. Although I have no direct authority over you, Evans, I expect a great deal more cooperation out of you than I've been getting. I came here to investigate a murder. There's another one within a few hours of my arrival, and where are you? Drinking beer in a local pub. Now, let's get down to the facts.
You should have been there, Evans. Not a very good impression to make on our guest, even though there was nothing you could have done. Well, what I mean is, it would have been too late to have saved her life.
Quite. Now, the basket she was burned in was the one that was stolen from your house, Sir Wilfrid, right?
Yes.
So there's a lead there. The basket was dragged to the stones from the bottom of the hill. So when daylight comes, we'll see if we can find any more tracks. Though I doubt it. Now, in the morning, Evans, I shall want to see all the property that was found on Watson when he was killed and take a look at his house. And also take a look at Agnes Wilson's cottage, too. Now, Watson was apparently, well, a little bit queer in the head, wasn't he? Well, what about Agnes Wilson? Was she normal?
Depends what you mean by normal, Mr. Roberts.
It's a plain enough question, isn't it?
Well, some of us people around here think that city folk be a bit mad. Will that be all?
Thank you.
He's got a point there, you know. I suppose by your standards, most of us up here seem not quite normal. Sanity is a strictly relative term, don't you think?
What I mean is, did she talk to herself when she was alone? Evans.
I don't know.
Well, you knew her, didn't you?
Yes. But I was never with her when she was alone.
There must be a patron saint for policemen somewhere up there.
Darling, your beer's getting flat.
Of course, there'll be no fingerprints on the hayfork that killed Watson. I expect a dozen people will have handled it by now.
Up here, Mr. Roberts, we don't hold with modern fal-de-lals like fingerprints.
Don't try and surprise me, Evans. I'm past surprising. Have you ever caught a criminal up here?
We never had a criminal. Criminals lives in cities.
You forgot about my father, Mr. Evans. They hanged him.
Ah, that was before my time.
Another thing. Where are the village records kept, Sir Wilfrid?
Why, the county seat, of course. That's the market town, quaintly. What's on your mind?
Well, if I remember rightly, they've always had this sort of trouble up here. There was a case in 1890.
That was my father.
And there was a famous trial here many years ago in which 4 women were accused of being witches and publicly burned legally. Oh, I also want to look at some family histories, and I want to look at records of insanity. That may be the only way we'll get anywhere.
The whole village is steeped in the dementia of witchcraft, Mr. Roberts. You'll get nowhere.
Witches mean superstition. But murder in this case means madness.
Perhaps. Perhaps I should tell you. My own father, Mr. Roberts, he died in a mental institution.
I see. Well, I'm glad you told me.
Time, gentlemen, please.
But I hardly think that the chief constable would make a proper suspect in a murder case.
No, I think not. Well, what about one for the road, Mrs. Roberts?
No, thank you, Sir Wilfrid. I'm beginning to feel rather sleepy.
Oh, yes, darling, of course.
If there's anything I can do to make your stay more comfortable.
You're most kind. Shall we see you in the morning?
Yes, of course. I'll be there. At the station.
It's just a room in my cottage, Mr. Roberts.
Good night. Good night, Mrs. Roberts.
Darling, do come on.
All right. Are we so impatient? Darling,
Yes?
would you like to go to work for me?
How thrilling. Darling, I'd love to.
Then take the car and drive over to Quaintly tomorrow and have a good look at those archives. I'll tell you what to look for, right?
I'd much rather go with you, dear.
Yes, I know you would, but you'll have a good morning there and you'll be back with me in the afternoon. And it'll justify your being here if the Yard ever gets to hear about it.
You mean you're going to put me on the payroll? How nice.
I'll pay you in kind. Nothing. This business must have upset you. You get a good night's rest and you'll feel much calmer in the morning.
Harry. Harry, I'm so frightened. No one ever sees it but me.
Fearsome weapon.
Just an ordinary billock.
You trim hedges with this?
It needs a quick twist of the wrist. Has to be sharp as a razor. It's quite an art.
And nothing more than an ordinary hay fork. And this was all that he had on him. What's this thing for?
Now, that's a hand warmer. You put a few pieces of live coal in there.
Really? What on earth for?
For warming the hands, to be sure.
Gets very cold up here in the small hours. Watson used to leave his house at 5 o'clock every morning.
Ah, yes. Uncannily punctual was the phrase you used, I think. And so there's something missing, isn't there?
You mean his watch? Yes, he did have one. An old-fashioned railway timepiece. We rather thought the murderer must have taken it, although it was just a 10-shilling watch, no value.
A thieving witch killer? I don't believe it. Either he was killed by a maniac or by a thief. And a thief would have stolen this money, too.
And were there? This is gentleman from London town I told you about. This is my old mother, Mr. Roberts. She's very old.
But she makes the best cup of tea in the west of England.
Who is that pretty young wife of yours, Mr. Robert?
She's gone over to Quaintly. No, I don't think it's a thief we're looking for. And if the fates are kind to us, there's just a chance that it may have dropped from his pocket.
We would have seen it.
Exactly. Unless the murderer picked it up and tossed it into the bushes.
In which case you've got a fingerprint. You'll never find it.
If it's there, we'll find it. Now, there's an army barracks over in Quaintly. Do you know the commanding officer?
Yes, I know him well.
Then be a good chap and ring him up and ask him to lend us some of his engineers. They can cover the area with mine detectors.
Well, that's a splendid idea. Well, I'm sure he'll be glad to cooperate. He plays chess with me sometime. He's a very nice fellow.
Just let me call my wife first. She's at the town hall there.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, I do beg your pardon. There's a telephone call from Dark Woods for a young lady named Mrs. Roberts. I wonder now, would that be you?
Yes, I'm Mrs. Roberts.
Oh, of course, yes. How do you do? My assistant told me there was a young lady here from Dark Woods. He said that you'd come all the way from London. Something to do with the police?
Yes, my husband's a detective inspector.
Really now, how absolutely fascinating. Yes, you can take the call right here, madam.
Yes? Yes, darling. Mm-hmm. Yes, all the local history. And most interesting. Yes. Yes. All right, darling. Bye-bye.
Dark Woods, a fascinating place. You've seen the ruins, the Druid stones?
Oh, yes, yes. Very interesting. They're more than 2,000 years old, aren't they?
Oh, no, my dear girl, no. No, they're quite modern. They were put there by King Ethelred when he was trying to drive out the Danish invaders in 872. They're less than 1,100 years old. Did you know that Sir Wilfrid's house was mentioned in the Doomsday Book? Yes. William the Conqueror used it. You've met Sir Wilfrid?
Oh, yes, of course. He's a very charming man.
You should have met his father, Sir Edgar. Quite a ladies' man, Sir Edgar. I knew him well.
Didn't he die?
Yes. A sad thing. He had a great love affair which lasted several years. Most unusual for him, I assure you. He wanted to marry her, but the title, and she was a village girl, you know, it wouldn't have done at all, would it?
No, I suppose not.
She was so beautiful, and still is, really, although, of course, she's very old. She married a man called Evans, a gardener.
You mean the policeman's mother?
Yes. Oh, you've seen her? Yes, it was a great love affair. It was that finally drove Sir Edgar to his grave.
I wonder, could I see the register of births for, 40 or 50 years ago?
Why, of course you can, my dear. The records are all open to the public. That would be, let's see now, should we say, 1900 onwards?
Yes, that would be.
Yes, I think we can find that for you.
Yeah. Just what we're looking for, anyway.
Why don't you pay attention when your officer's talking? We're looking for a ruddy watch.
Blimey, fella loses their watch, they turn the army out to find it. I thought we had democracy.
Now, come on, you two, get on with it. Open orders are the order. Now, spread out.
Yes, your flipping lordship. Sarge! I won first prize.
Now, don't touch it, soldier. Leave it alone.
Right. Nothing but an ordinary mole spike.
What's a mole spike?
To catch moles with, to be sure.
What do they want to catch moles for?
I don't know. I suppose they eat them. How about that, huh? Mole stew.
What horrible thought.
Now, come on, you two, get on with it. This ain't a blasted picnic, you know.
Oh, there she is now. I wonder what kept her so long. I suppose the car broke down. Did you have a good trip, darling?
Lots of local gossip. That old man was right last night. His father was hanged for murder. Ritual murders. And old Mr. Junus at the tavern, his grandfather was involved in an earlier trial. Same old thing, killed by a stake through the heart. And Constable Evans' father was not his father, if you know what I mean.
Oh?
No, he was born before the ancient Mrs. Evans was married. And she used to be...
Well, it's nice to see you back again. How do you find Quaintly? Interesting old place, isn't it?
Very interesting. How's it coming along here?
Well, so far, nothing but bits of old iron.
Mr. Roberts! We found it, sir.
About time. It'll be dark soon. Temptation to dust this thing myself is very strong. There must be prints all over it.
Well, surely you can't see them with the naked eye. Don't you have to powder it or something first?
A man of my great experience. But I think I'll send it to the yard and let them do it for me. They'll be able to sort out the new prints from the old. What time does the parcel post leave?
Well, you missed it today. The next mail is at 7 in the morning.
Oh, well, I think I'd better get this to the post office. I take it it'll be safe there overnight.
Oh, yes, surely. But you better hurry. It'll be closing soon.
Oh, then, if you'll excuse us, we'll get along there right away. We'll see you later at the inn.
Good.
What was all that about?
You and your talking, darling. You nearly gave the whole game away. Of course you can't see fingerprints without dusting, but these yokels don't know that.
Oh, dear. I am sorry. I should have known you were up to no good. Let me make it up to you.
Oh, no. There's a time and place for everything, remember?
So whoever tries to break into the post office tonight...
is the murderer. Simple, isn't it?
You couldn't have chosen a better word, darling.
Simple?
You don't really think anyone's going to fall for that, do you?
Well, I don't see why not. I thought I was being rather clever.
So you were, darling. So you were. But that means you're going to have to stand guard over the beastly thing all night.
I'll be able to slip away when it's good and dark. There's a nice, easy way out from the window in our room. You won't mind being on your own for one night, will you?
Darling, this is getting to be a positively improbable honeymoon.
Yes, I know it is. But with any luck, we'll break this case tonight, and then I promise you we'll have a proper honeymoon.
Harry, you won't take any chances, will you?
Don't worry, darling, don't worry.
Who's there? Who is it? Who is it?
It's me, Mrs. Evans.
It's rather late, Mrs. Evans.
I want to speak to your husband, Mrs. Roberts.
He's fast asleep, Mrs. Evans. Couldn't you come back tomorrow?
Let me in, child, quickly. down there at the post office, isn't he?
No, he went out to look for something. He'll be back any minute.
Sir Wilfrid saw him there. He told my son.
He told his brother.
Oh, so you know about that, do you? Not many do, but you. I see it in your eyes. You know things, don't you? Oh, the dark fire in your blood. The knowledge that only comes to witches. Oh, so young, so dark, so beautiful. Just as I was once. When we set the village aflame with our love so many years ago.
You killed them, didn't you?
Yes. You know that too, don't you? Only a witch could know. A witch with a fire burning dark inside her. A fire that must be burned away by fire.
No, no, no.
Take her to the burning place.
Place, and you told me to let her go. No, she must be burned with a stake to her heart, just like Agnes Wilson.
Father Evans, tell him to let her go. I beg of you.
Stand back, Wilfrid. Keep away from me.
For the last time, Evans, let her go. I don't want my own brother's blood on my hands.
No, no, never, 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 I won't. Wilfrid.
Let her go, Evans.
No.
Oh, Harry. Harry, darling.
Esther. It's all over now. It's all over.
For us, it's all over.
All right, Evans, let's get down to the police station. You all right, darling?
All right now.
Then let's go, shall we? We must get some men to bring in Sir Wilfrid.
Yes, let's leave this horrible place. I never want to see it again.